Hi everybody. Today we're going to give a brief introduction to flipped and hybrid classrooms and how CompuScholar's online material can be applied to those situations. This is part of our professional development webinar series for March 2019, and I appreciate you joining us today. My name is Chris Youst. I'm the president of CompuScholar. I spent quite a few years in the software engineering industry, writing quite a bit of code for a number of different companies. I've also spent close to a decade in the education space writing curriculum for the IT space. So I'm always happy to answer questions about this topic or anything else that's on your mind. You're welcome to email me at chris.youst@compuscholar.com. So today we're going to start off and talk a little bit about the goals of all these new teaching models that have cropped up recently, and then we'll spend some time comparing those models against the traditional classroom model and see what's different about each one. And along the way, we'll also talk about how you might apply CompuScholar's online material in order to meet the needs of each of these new teaching models. Okay, so what's the point of everybody coming up with all these new teaching models after we've done the same things the same way for many, many years? By and large, these models are trying to make use of technology in order to provide a better teaching experience and a better learning experience for the students. Depending on who you talk to, you'll find a number of specific goals within that umbrella. Some folks are looking to really individualize learning and make it personal per student. Some of them want the students to be able to progress at their own pace, which is difficult sometimes in a traditional classroom. Others would really like to take advantage of the data that you can derive from online systems, so keeping track of student progress and looking for trouble spots and seeing where students are doing well and seeing where they need help is a big deal. And also just making better use of your time than you might in a traditional classroom. So we all know how traditional classrooms work, but just as a brief review, in a traditional classroom, the students and teachers are going to meet face-to-face in some sort of classroom on a regular basis. And by and large, teachers are going to spend that classroom time teaching the subject matter. So they'll have either their own lecture notes or a physical textbook or something like that, and they're going to lecture based on those things. And the teacher will also assign reading or homework or projects or things that the students will do outside of the classrooms. So go home and do this exercise, go home and do these worksheets, go home and do this project, go home and read these, read this part of the textbook. And of course, in a traditional classroom, you don't normally have any online components, as these things are relatively new, and the online components are what have sparked some of the changes that folks are making to this traditional model. So the first term you may have heard when it comes to flipped and hybrid classrooms is blended learning. And a lot of these terms kind of merge together a little bit, and it depends on who you're talking to exactly what they mean. But we'll try our best to define these for our purposes. So in a blended learning model, it actually looks a lot like our traditional model. Your students and teachers are going to meet on site. The primary instruction is again going to be delivered by the teacher. Most of the work is going to be done by students somewhere outside of the classroom. But you're starting to merge in some technology that's available to you. You might have some online resources that you use as assignments for additional exercises. You might have a few things that you refer students to online. But still at the low end of the spectrum, so to speak, it's still primarily a traditional teaching model. You're just starting to incorporate some electronic bits and pieces of that into your classroom. So if you're running this kind of classroom, how would it look with CompuScholar material? Well, clearly you would still meet on site. There's no change there. You as a teacher are still going to be a primary lecturer and primary instructor. So again, there's no change there. The difference is you might start to weave in some of CompuScholar's components. So all of the CompuScholar activities that we have in our courses can be completed by students at home. So they can install the development environments themselves or work on their home computers. And they can complete those activities anywhere outside of the classroom. And of course, the online components that we do have include things like lessons and videos and assessments and hands-on projects. And so the teacher in this blended classroom can start pulling in some or all of the CompuScholar activities in order to supplement what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. Now, you may have also heard the term hybrid learning model, and in a lot of cases, that just means it's a blended model, but you're relying far more on the online resources. So in a hybrid environment, you might be exclusively using the online material for instruction. You're referring to that as the source of reading and all the hands-on projects and everything. And of course, CompuScholar supports that as well. So if you're doing a hybrid model with CompuScholar, We've got lessons and videos, we've got activities, we've got assessments, we've got built-in reporting that'll let you get that data-driven mindset that you're looking for in order to see how students are doing and measure their progress. So an online system like CompuScholar's will obviously play very well in a hybrid environment. So the last of these new models that we'll talk about today is a flipped classroom. And a flipped classroom actually has a pretty significantly different mindset than the remainder of them. In a flipped classroom, instead of the instruction happening mostly in the class, a flipped classroom will delegate most of the instructional or the learning to the student outside of the classroom. So the student will go home and consume the primary instruction, typically through some sort of online source, so they can go home and read lessons and watch videos and things like that. And then what happens in the classroom when the students and teachers get together in that critical face-to-face environment in the classroom, instead of the teacher lecturing and the students listening, everybody's working together to complete activities and solve problems and take a deeper dive into certain things in a collaborative manner. So the idea here is that students can progress a little bit better at their own pace at home using some turnkey online curriculum, and then come together in order to kind of really take a deeper dive into the material and apply the concepts that they've learned. Of course, you can do this with CompuScholar's material. The online instructional materials that we have are very turnkey. They are very friendly to students that want to do self-study and self-paced and kind of move at their own rates. And students can access all of those things from home or from anywhere that they have a web browser with an internet connection. So that part of it works very well. And then when you want to come on site and actually do hands-on projects, certainly you can do all of CompuScholar's hands-on projects on the lab computers that you provide. Perhaps students don't have access to certain things at home. And then if you want to, you can work either individually or in groups on the different CompuScholar projects and exercises. That's up to you and how you want to run the classroom. So that was a quick sprint through the different terms, and we just wanted to introduce the concepts to you. There's tons and tons of resources online. When you do look online to try and figure out, maybe how you want to run your classroom, just be aware that a lot of these terms are used in different ways in different contexts. So when you see traditional, blended, or hybrid, those are all kind of a spectrum of terms that refer largely to a traditional model, but with an increasing degree of integration of technical resources. But in these models, the teacher is still kind of driving the classroom instruction with that mindset. And then when you hear flipped, that's the significant change where the teachers are no longer necessarily driving the primary lecture. They delegate that to the online components that the students can consume at home. And then the students will come into the classroom, still work with the teacher, work with their peers on the hands-on activities, on applying those concepts that they've learned. So these terms will get bandied about together quite frequently, and sometimes they mean different things to different people, but this is the way we wanted to define them, just so you can kind of distinguish between all of the different situations. And really, we're not here today to tell you which one is better. You can use any of these models successfully, and so what you want to use is really your personal choice, or maybe it's a choice or a mindset that's made at a school or a district level. So the main takeaway we wanted to provide for you is that no matter which system you want to choose, an online system and a set of online material like CompuScholar's will be very, very friendly to that approach. It's simply a matter of deciding how you want to run the classroom, and then when and how you want the students to work with the online system and consume those online resources. So we appreciate you watching this quick webinar today. If you have any questions about the topics, we're happy to hear from you. So please give us a call or shoot us a contact request through our website. You're again also welcome to email me personally at chris.ust@compuscholar.com. Thanks for watching.